There are plenty of ways of making your food habits and your diet more sustainable. Transitioning into a fully or predominantly plant-based diet is definitely one of the best things that we can do, both for our bodies and for the climate. But how do you do that? What steps do we take? How do we get started? If you have no prior experiences with eating predominantly plant-based, this can be really overwhelming. When I transitioned into a plant-based diet, which is approximately 7-8 years ago, I was intensely overwhelmed, and I wish someone had told me this. I will link all my videos about plant-based eating, about animal agriculture, about sustainable diets, all this kind of stuff in the description. So if you want to watch further and learn more, there are more videos. I would like to preface this by saying that when you change your diet, I think it's really important to also talk to an expert, a specialist, someone who is not just a YouTuber. Not that there's anything wrong with being a YouTuber, but I am not a nutritional expert, and that is very important for me to make sure that you guys understand. So that when you change your diet, you don't only listen to me, but you get your information from a variety of sources, including specialists, medical professionals, etc. It's just a really good idea. So you have sort of a baseline of information. I do that as well. I have consultations with my doctor every single year just to make sure that everything is working the way it's supposed to, which is also why I can tell you that I am a lot healthier now. It's not just my vibe or my anecdotes or sort of my feelings about plant-based food. I am just healthier, but get checked out. But I recognize that changing from eating animal products to not eating animal products and focusing mainly on a plant-based or vegan diet can be intimidating if you don't really know where to start, where to begin, and what to do and what changes to make, because it seems a little bit overwhelming when you're right in the beginning of it. And I absolutely get that vibe. I remember it vividly, which is why I want to give some of the advice that I wish someone had given me when I first started on my plant-based diet. And my first piece of advice taps perfectly into my little disclaimer in the beginning, but gather information. That means read a book, read some studies, watch some documentaries, but furthermore, talk to specialists. If you consult with a regular doctor, it might be difficult to have a conversation about plant-based foods and plant-based eating because they might not actually have sufficient information about it. And that's because nutrition takes up very, very, very little space in medical curriculums. It's actually a little bit of a problem. It's about 6 hours. There might be tons of gray areas where it can be really frustrating as someone who wants to include more plants and exclude animal products if you only get your advice from your own doctor. Now, I don't want to sit here and tell you guys not to listen to medical professionals, because do. I also recommend talking to specialized nutritionalists that work with plant-based foods, among other kinds of diets. I have talked very briefly about this, and I do not intend on getting into too many details, but I was once in a program for disordered eating. And one of the things in this program that really frustrated me a lot was that they categorized plant-based eating as a type of eating disorder. And it actually meant that they had to figure out if my wish to eat plant-based was a part of the eating disorder, or the eating disorder was something else unrelated to plant-based foods. They do not give you advice on how to overcome an eating disorder if you only want to eat plant-based foods. I could both see the idea in that, but at the same time I also strongly disagree, which is why I think overall it's important that we have updated sufficient information on this type of eating. Anyway, gather information from a variety of different sources before you start changing your diet drastically. And this leads me to point number 2. You don't actually have to change your lifestyle and diet drastically. You can actually start by making one meal. You can start by making one plant-based meal. See how it goes, see how it feels. Do not expect to change. Do not expect to feel different in your body just because you have one meal in a different way than what you're used to. That's very unrealistic. Some people feel really good when they change their lives drastically. Some people stop eating animal products from day one and then they never look back, never eat it again, and cut everything out all at once. My journey wasn't like that. A lot of people don't do it this way. I took it meal by meal, ingredient by ingredient. I looked at the statistics of the different impacts of different types of animal products. In the very top we have lamb and we have beef, and then I worked my way through the list, starting with the most polluting and ending up with the least polluting. And once phasing out beef and lamb felt normal and felt okay, I moved on to the next thing to phase out. So it took a while. I think it took a year, maybe a year and a half, to phase out all animal products, and that's okay. But start with one meal and see how it goes. I don't think you have to change your entire diet overnight. I actually think it's a lot more likely that you'll be able to find a good balanced diet that works for you and something that you can stick to if you gradually introduce new dishes and new ways of cooking into your lifestyle. This goes for plant-based eating, this goes for zero waste, this goes for every type of sustainable action, sustainable lifestyle change. Doing something little by little and normalizing it, making sure that it feels good, that it feels natural and easy, and then move on to something new. To me, at least, that works a lot better than setting the bar way too high in the beginning, because then you might not have the overview, the nuances, the knowledge, the experience to properly navigate this new way of eating and what ingredients to use and what to avoid and what to supplement with and what to substitute something with. And there's all these different nuances that's kind of lost if you just start from day one and then never look back. You can do that if that's your jam. Absolutely, go for it. Honestly, super cool. Honestly, badass. I just personally recommend that you take your time, that you learn something, that you make it feel good and nice and easy, and then you move on to something new. Doing it gradually also means that you don't look at this as a drastic lifestyle change. It's small, tiny actions and routines that we're constantly twitching, improving. And it's not scary, it's not dangerous, it's not overwhelming, it's just little by little until you look back and you can see the entire progress that you've made. I think that's way more empowering and impactful. And speaking from my own experience, that has also been the reason why I've been able to stick to this diet, because I took my time. Now, this is my most important advice, my best and most pleasurable advice, I would say, but eat out as much as possible. Try as many restaurants with plant-based foods as you possibly can. Gather information that way, see how other people have used textures and ingredients and how they have combined foods and how they've built up the plates. Instead of starting from scratch, get inspired by how other people, and especially professional chefs in restaurants, are making these plant-based dishes. I should say that some restaurants that are primarily focused on meat and dairy have some really poor excuses for plant-based dishes. So I would stay clear of anything that looks like a Caesar salad with half the stuff removed. But vegetarian restaurants, vegan restaurants, go out there, see what they have to offer and see what you can learn from it. Which brings me to advice number 4. Download Happy Cow. This is an app where you can see plant-based restaurants around the world. You can actually see fully plant-based restaurants, you can see vegetarian restaurants, you can see restaurants with vegan and vegetarian options, and it just makes it a lot easier to navigate where to go out and eat and what places to visit. You can also see the pictures of the food and you can see reviews from other guests. It's just a lot easier to navigate the options that way. So I definitely recommend this app. And there are other apps that I recommend as well, like the Vegan Passport, that will tell you in every language known to man what veganism is. Or there is Barnivore, that shows you what types of alcohol and wines are vegan and non-vegan. Yeah, because some wines are not vegan. There are tons of apps that can help you navigate these ingredients, and also it can just be a great learning opportunity where you can just browse around and see what's up and down. I cannot stress enough how important it is to have a reference point or some source of inspiration. Don't just go pulling plant-based recipes out of thin air if you have no experience with it. I can literally not recommend enough finding a reference point or inspiration. See how others who might have been in the game for a really long time pull together recipes and plates and dishes. I was at a wedding where I talked to a couple that was very interested in plant-based eating, but from a very skeptical perspective. So they asked me about it, and that's fine. Like, you can be skeptical, I can sort of sense instantly if people feel like you're a little bit crazy. But I didn't pull attention to the fact that I was eating plant-based myself. They came up to me and asked. They asked me why I was plant-based. I said it was mainly because of the environment, and then they said that they tried to be plant-based as well at some point. And I asked them how that went, and they said that they felt awful. They tried it for a week, it was really bad, and they could never do what I do. Then my number one question, because this has happened a few times since then, but this is just like ingrained in my mind, and this has been my go-to response afterwards every single time. It's been, what did you use as sort of inspiration and references? What recipes did you use? Anything of the sort. And they sort of just looked at me with this blank stare, just, recipes? Inspiration? And this is what they told me. They just made the dishes that they normally made, but then without animal products. So usually they would have a roast with some potatoes, some gravy and a salad. So what they did now was that they just had the salad and the potatoes. And that's the plant-based food. And I understand why you feel shitty. That's not the lifestyle. That's not what it's about. And this is why I think it's so incredibly important to check out what other people are doing to make balanced plant-based dishes, because balance here is really important. You can't just eat potatoes and iceberg lettuce. For a month, I would die. There's plenty of plant-based protein, and some of the plant-based proteins are even full proteins, with all the essential amino acids, the whole jam. Just learn about it. I also really recommend learning about special and unspecial ingredients. What I mean by this is that sometimes on a plant-based diet, you end up using certain ingredients that you wouldn't have used if you were eating animal products. It means that you have certain types of proteins or substitutes that you don't need to know about when you're eating an animal-based diet, but that makes your life so much easier when you're on a plant-based diet. For savory dishes, for desserts, etc., there are different types of substitutes that just make your life easier, like agar-agar instead of gelatin, or aquafaba, aka the water from chickpeas, instead of egg whites. You also have wheat protein like seitan, which is about 70% protein. Now when I say unspecial ingredients, it's because there are lots of ingredients that are just naturally plant-based, because adding animal products are either too expensive, makes it more perishable, or just like because it's easier to not put in the animal product. There are several explanations as to why that is, but just know that a lot of the products that you're already consuming and enjoying are already plant-based. I have this conversation every time I post something or talk about pasta, because a lot of people don't realize that simple dried pasta basically never includes eggs. Just have a quick peek in the ingredients list on the back, but more often than not, it's just water and flour. Same goes for a lot of different bread, and also for a lot of your favorite snacks. Now, obviously, there are also products, when you go down into this rabbit hole of what's plant-based and what isn't, and what has animal products in it and what hasn't, you will see that there are also lots of products that contain animal products that you might never have thought about. And I guess that's part of the game, but in order to not overcomplicate everything, I think it's really important to remember that a lot of the very basic foods, a lot of very basic staples that we all have in our cupboards tend to be plant-based. One of the more important pieces of advice is that when you choose to go plant-based, or when you choose to dabble, experiment, there is no need to overcomplicate things. I've seen a lot of people not only transition from an animal-based diet to a plant-based diet, but then also transitioned into a raw diet, or a raw till 4, or a no sugar, a no oil, or a no fat, or a no gluten. There is no need. If you have a specific allergy, obviously you need to adjust, but there is no need to also go raw, or also go no oil, or no sugar, or no fat. I think the best way to exist in this diet is to not overcomplicate it, and to not make it any more difficult or restrictive than it has to be. The best way to live a healthy and sustainable plant-based diet is to have a balanced diet. I'm a big advocate for plant-based foods, but I am in no way, shape or form a supporter of the raw diet or any of the other sub-diets when it comes to veganism and plant-based diets. I feel like going plant-based, where you can have delicious raw salads, but you can also enjoy pastas and breads, lasagnas, you can enjoy burgers, you can enjoy fries, you can enjoy all the other things that exist, all the other foods. Obviously, I can only talk from my own personal perspective, but I think restricting yourself too much puts an expiration date on your diet. But simply just having like a chill plant-based diet where you eat salads one day and burgers the next day, I don't know, but I feel like I could eat this way for the rest of my life without problems or trouble. That is just my personal preference, and that is why it's a part of this list, especially if you're new to this lifestyle. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't go into any sub-genres of veganism or plant-based diets. Just stick with plant-based foods. Balanced plant-based foods. I feel like substitute meats, alternative meats, plant-based meats often gets a bad rap. There's a lot of skepticism and criticism and scrutiny when it comes to plant-based meats, and often it leads back to a main criticism that if you're a vegan or you're plant-based, why would you want to eat something that resembles the one thing that you're trying to avoid? I didn't go vegan because I didn't like the taste of meat. I don't enjoy the process of getting it to my plate. From breeding animals, from using resources, from taking up land, from using more resources, from processing, slaughter, the whole thing, I don't agree with any of that. But I always liked meat. I always liked the taste of meat. If I can get that without the resource use, without the exploitation, without the slaughter, without the massive resource use, I'm gonna take that. Which is why it's also included in my list of advice. Have fun with it, experiment with it. It's not dangerous, it's not scary. I've had tremendous amounts of fun trying different kinds of alternative meats. Some really suck, some really slaps. If you're new to a plant-based diet, I really recommend taking your favorite comfort foods, your favorite dishes and your favorite meals, and finding ways of making them plant-based where they satisfy you in the same way, where they fill you in the same way. Because sometimes you're gonna have a shitty vegan meal. Sometimes you're gonna go out with friends or family and you're gonna go out with a group and you're all gonna order something and the plant-based option sucks. So knowing exactly how to make your favorite dishes in a plant-based way means that you always have something to fall back on. It means that your brain knows that while this meal sucked, all the meals are not gonna suck because you have the best meals and you can always make those. At least it's sort of a consultation for me whenever I go out and you get just like a sucky dish that no one put any thought into. I know I can go home and I can make the exact thing I'm craving. Now I do realize that I have built all the advice up like this is the most important thing or this is the most important thing, which you know for the most part is just dramatic to keep you guys hooked. However, this is the most important thing I'm going to say in this video, and it's don't beat yourself up if you make a mistake. I have had, as I've also hinted at in this video, a pretty messed up relationship with food, and I think it's worth acknowledging and talking about the fact that if you're too restrictive, if you expect yourself to be perfect all the time, you are gonna feel defeated in this lifestyle because no one is perfect. Even when ethics is a big part of the way we consume food, I think it's still really important that we speak about food in a way that is healthy. Which means that if you make a mistake, I don't want you to purge yourself. I don't want you to feel bad. I don't want you to beat yourself up. I want you to learn from that experience and move on. And every time I talk about failing at veganism or failing at my plant-based diet, I'm gonna have people that are absolutely insane in my comment section. Even when I say, I didn't mean to make a mistake, but I would much rather talk about and acknowledge the mistakes that I made so we can learn from them and talk about them, because I don't want this to be a community, especially not on my platform, heavens no. I don't want this to be a community where we beat ourselves up, where I encourage you to speak badly about yourself or to engage in behavior that is just downright detrimental to your mental health. Just this year I had an experience where I ate something that then turned out to be chicken. I had one piece of it and could instantly taste, this is not vegan. Shit. And then the moment was over. I was with a larger group of friends and I forgot about it because I was a little bit tipsy, not gonna lie. A little bit. How about a lot? I forgot about it. That was sort of it. I had this one bite, realized what it was, didn't get another bite. That was sort of it. And then the next day, because I'd forgotten about it, one of my friends sort of brings this to everyone's attention that, oh, I ate meat yesterday. It's like I should feel bad, or they should console me, or we should in some way do some work in order to get past this. I was already past it. It was a mistake. That was it. I think it's very easy in this lifestyle to put a lot of pressure on yourself to be perfect, because inherently there is a perfectionist complex within this lifestyle. Imperfectly advocating for sustainability or imperfectly advocating for ethics and animal rights really easily starts to feel hypocritical. I literally don't care. My main objective with my own lifestyle and with my communication about it is that we should live in a way that enables us to live like this forever. I am living in this lifestyle in a way where I know I can keep doing it. And I'm also not gonna feel mentally drained from constantly beating myself up. If you feel like this is detrimental to the way you want to live this lifestyle, if you want to pursue perfectionism, and if you do not tolerate any kind of mistakes within yourself, that is completely your prerogative. You can do that if you want to. But I think expecting perfectionism, expecting other people to react with shame and guilt when they mess up is absolutely fucked up. We're not gonna do that, okay? Anyway, those are 10 tips for plant-based vegan beginners. I hope that you like this video. Leave a comment down below with your best tips on how to get started, or leave a question for me in the group if you have anything that you've been wondering about. Let's help each other out and share with the group. Thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day, and I will see you guys next time. Take really good care of yourselves. Until then, bye. Thank you so much for watching this video, and also a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. You guys help me create green, zero-waste content, and I love you guys. You can find the links to my social media accounts down below and the link to my Patreon on this screen. Bye!